Good evening, everyone. Hello out there.
Welcome to the weekend. I'm Gerald.
And I'm Lori.
And we are the Healthy Credit Gals. Our goal is to educate you on credit and financial matters. Join us on this journey to increase your awareness of credit and health and how they impact your life.
If you've ever experienced financial stress, and most of us have at some point, then you know how unsettling it can be. There are many ways to actively take control of the situation, restore your credit score, and rebuild your purchasing power.
If you have a question and want to join the show, call in at 888-565-1470 and let us guide you in creating financial fitness and peace of mind. Drive on solutions and give you ideas and taking that first step, because action leads to action. And you got to start somewhere, so it doesn't really matter where you are, just put that foot forward.
So why don't we go ahead and introduce our first guest. We have the prominent attorney, which is a great friend of mine for many years, Tammy Saltzman. She's here in Boca, and she is a family law as well as real estate attorney, and is spreading her wings and doing all kinds of great things in the community to help people move through whatever issues or whatever challenges they may have, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Welcome, Tammy.
Thank you so much for having me. Welcome.
So let's get started on what comes to the table, I guess, when somebody first comes to you. Let's start with divorce.
Okay, we can start with divorce. So, anybody that is going through divorce is going to feel a financial impact.
Yes.
You take a family and divide it by two. We don't double the income. We're now splitting the income, and that is always going to be a financial strain on anyone considering. A lot of times people are afraid to get divorced because they don't think that they can afford to live independently on their own.
That was my situation.
Yes.
I'm sure that's a lot of people's situation. I mean, we were working together as well, so we had our career together, and the thought of splitting that as well. It's very scary.
When couples own a business together, it can be devastating because often, one person needs to walk away from the business and start over, and the other person ends up with the business. Or their parties decide to sell the business, and then both parties start over. But when we're talking about healthy credit, we can start by saying, do you have your own credit? Because a lot of times, if a woman comes in, she's often using her husband's credit, and she hasn't really established any credit on her own, and that could take time.
Yes. Well, as a table of women who have all been through divorce,
Yes.
I think we can all relate to some of the emotional challenges that come even before you make the decision to go through a divorce and decide to separate. One party usually ends up being the decision maker and makes the decision to leave. So how do you work through, I know you're a mediator as well,
Yes.
and what process do you put people through as far as helping them to make a decision whether they decide to work things out on their own or how they separate things, especially their finances?
Well, I'm not a therapist, but I will tell you that every single couple that comes to me, whether it's a husband or wife saying they want a divorce, I always remind them that this should be as a last resort. Marriage is not something you take lightly, and getting divorced is not something you should take lightly. So sometimes finances is what divides parties. Often couples fight about money, and so that can cause a rift in the marriage. But you can go to Healthy Credit Gals to get your credit score improved. You can go to someone like Amy who can help you set goals and get on the right path through coaching. And when you have a good team of people together, you can get through anything.
So I think that's a good point to go ahead and bring in Amy in the conversation.
So our other guest is the beautiful Amy Botwinick.
You got it right.
I got it.
Yay.
Okay, certified divorce coach. and working mostly with women, and the name of your company is Women Moving On, and I was on your website, and I'm going to start in the song, so should I stay or should I go now?
That's right. That's my theme song.
That's
Yeah. That's actually my favorite client. And like Tammy said, it's a financial event. Yes, there's the emotional and the legal and the financial, but for me, the should I stay or should I go is really getting people a reality check before they move forward, if they have that luxury. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes people are so paralyzed or so not in reality, they really need the information. And I often find that once I get a client and I send them out to my team of experts, it's a lawyer, it's somebody in finance, it could be a therapist, because it really does take a team of experts to help people through this process. It's really important. And that is the piece. You can't go through something like this alone. And as a coach, what I do is I'm a sounding board, and I walk them through the whole piece, starting with, let's talk about some of your realities. What are your realities? And let's talk about your finances. And so many times women have to go through this process. I almost feel like don't kill the messenger. But when we start talking about what money comes in and what money comes out, it's called lifestyle sticker shock. Mm-hmm. And you know what? This is not just with people going through divorce. It's really everybody. Mm-hmm. And I say to every woman and every man, you should fill out this thing called a financial affidavit or a financial piece to understand what is going on, because people are just either living beyond their means or not protected. They don't have the right insurance. They're not in a safe place.
Or they just don't know.
And they don't know. And do you find that most of the time it's the woman that comes to you and that has no idea what the finances are?
Yes, and you know what? It's okay, because I was one of those girls. I will tell you the truth. When I was going through my divorce, remember I Love Lucy?
Yes.
Okay. Remember, like, Lucy would be like this, and Desi is like, what's with these bills? And she's like, I don't know. So that was like kind of me, but I had to really evolve through this whole process. Mm-hmm. And getting divorced was such a teacher for me, because I really embraced my financial situation and I became responsible. Mm-hmm. And whether I was going to stay in that marriage or not, it was so important for me to get a grip and embrace my reality so that I can move forward and make smart choices. And I think the power comes in learning what you need to know, and kind of letting that settle so that you can make a plan and move forward in a stronger way. And that's why I love doing what I do.
That's awesome. So
I think knowledge is power. That's exactly what we always say. Knowledge is power, and it is so empowering when you embrace the knowledge and make some changes. We always talk about this on our show, because most people that we know that have financial challenges with credit, whether it's financial health, the whole spectrum of it, or it's just the credit piece, it's really so simple to take control and empower people with just a few little tidbits of information. And then it really does change how people can manage their whole financial portfolio.
Right, and it's interesting, we all kind of put that roadblock up to know what you're doing might be wrong, but to have actually somebody point it out, it's making you accountable.
Yeah, and I really like what Tammy said, is that she's like a divorce attorney, but she really believes in marriage, like I do. And what I find is that when I'm working with somebody in the should I stay or should I go piece, sometimes when we get all the information and we send out to all the people for them to get everything down, we take a pause and we say, okay, so now where are you at? And sometimes a client will say, you know what, I think I need to, there's power in the pause. I need to take a look at myself in this situation, and maybe I need to work with my partner in a different way. And when you get the financial piece together and you work with your partner and you start doing what you need to do, like Tammy said, a lot of people fight over finances.
Right.
Well, let it not be the elephant in the room. Let's deal with this. Let's get it on the counter table and work through it. So somebody like you could save a marriage,
and we do save marriages. Couples sometimes do, someone will come in and once they understand their financial situation and they see it in a financial affidavit form, and then we talk about what it is that they're fighting over. Quite often it could be that there's a child from a previous marriage and dad keeps giving her money, So what if we created a postnuptial agreement that took care of her concerns? And so every time he gave the daughter $500, he gave the wife $500. Maybe they wouldn't fight anymore about the money, and we could save a marriage every now and then, right? So that would be the use of a postnuptial agreement for a couple that has already been married and now wants to make agreements between themselves.
And sometimes when it can't be saved, then the key is getting the right people on your team, like a good divorce attorney who is not going to take advantage of your situation, like credit advisors, financial advisors, a therapist to help them along the way, because divorce does not have to be a nightmare, and it's really not rocket science. Building a strong, solid team and getting realistic about your expectations is what it's all about.
So these are all great points, and we have just begun the conversation. I hope you stay with us. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Did you know that having less than perfect credit can cost you upwards of $1 million in interest rates, fees, and other unnecessary charges over your lifetime? And did you know 80% of credit reports have errors causing lower credit scores? And did you know 43 million people have a credit score of 599 or less?
Less than perfect credit leaves you with little or no control. The Healthy Credit Gals can help. We are the Healthy Credit Gals. Let us show you how to create financial fitness and peace of mind. Tune in and let's talk credit on 1470 AM and 95.3 FM.
Does the insurance world have you dazed and confused? And are you not sure what to do? Call Cheryl. She represents Florida Blue and other things too. Open enrollment is November 1st through December 15th. 45 days only. If you want to make changes, you must do it in that time period. And if you're healthy, there are other more affordable options available to keep you protected. Call Gerald at 954-701-8391 to explore your options. That's 954-701-8391. You've been listening to the Healthy Credit Gals inform you of how important good credit is and the stressful impact bad credit can have on your overall well-being. Visit our website at thehealthycreditgals.com and learn what options you have. Now, let's get back to the show.
Hold this in.
Hi everyone, we are back and talking divorce, and amazingly enough, there's 4 amazing women here. We've all had our situations with divorce, with starting over, with finances,
credit.
And so let's delve in a little bit more on what that looks like. So I've come home and I found out my entire house, my entire life has just been emptied out. What's my situation? Well, how do I start again?
Well, you're going to be scared, that's for sure. You know, you feel the panic rise.
Yes.
And you feel it in your chest and in your face, and you know, you're like panicked and you're scared. But I can tell you that even when you're left with all the bills and none of the money, there is hope.
Yes.
You know, I am certain that one step at a time is the right, you know, the first thing you're going to do probably is call your mother or your best friend or your sister, cry a lot. But then once you figure out that you need to make the first step, you're going to make the first step. And so you're going to hire a lawyer, you're going to ask a few people, who do you know? You might hire a coach like Amy.
Yes.
And then Amy would be the one to direct you, use this attorney, use this financial person, and help you, direct you through. When you have someone who's been through the process, then it's going to make it easier for you.
Yes.
Because if you don't know what you're doing, you can get swept up into the divorce vacuum, and cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching later, you're
Yes.
still nowhere.
Yeah, I just want to say where I've met both these amazing women is at the NADP, the National Association of Divorce Professionals. So we'll give a plug for Vicki and Liz, who are
Yes.
growing by leaps and bounds, and that is an incredible resource that's just gotten off the ground in the last 2 years. And if it is divorce that you are thinking about or going through, they have every professional that touches the divorce process.
Yes, and I've been involved with you in the same group, and it's been a tremendous resource for me to be able to help connect my clients, because really every divorce has a different thumbprint, and some need, it's the higher level, mid, and lower level cost-wise. So with the NADP, they have 3 of every professional. So I have like a whole smorgasbord of people that I've built relationships with, that when I send my client over, I know they're going to be taken care of with kid gloves. And that's the key, is aligning yourself with people who have your best interest at heart. That's the whole thing with divorce, is getting the right people on your team.
That's the first challenge, I think. And then figuring out, can I afford to go through divorce? Is it really the best option for me? And both of you seem to help direct a client to whatever solutions fit them the best, right?
And sometimes, when Tammy was talking about that extreme, you come home and there is no choice. What do? That is, like, I'm breaking out in hives thinking about
Exactly.
that. But I remember there was a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt, and she said, people are like tea bags. You don't know how strong they are until you put them in hot water.
Yes.
And that is so true. And a lot of people can
quote.
rise, right? So sometimes you're in that situation, but sometimes when you have the choice and you get your realities and you understand where you're at, I find that some clients are like, you know what? I think I need to get my ducks in a row. And I'm going to stay in the safety of the umbrella of the marriage while I get an education, fix my credit, maybe do some work on myself. Maybe my relationship might actually work out once I get my act together. So I love that piece in particular, because I think you guys all know some people that you're friends with in the community that went full force into divorce without really thinking. It was like a knee jerk. And then they come back and years later like, oh my God, what did I do? The grass is not always greener on the other side. Sometimes it's a necessary thing to go through it, like we did. But sometimes, again, the power in the pause.
I think I just appreciate what you said about all the resources. When I went through mine, I was making decisions on my own. I wasn't making the best decisions, but one thing that I did do is I did take a pause for myself and figured out that was the route I wanted to take before I moved forward. So just having people as a sounding board and having solutions, this is what we are all about, just being solution driven and helping people create other resources where other people have knowledge in an area that you don't. You don't know everything, and sometimes it takes somebody being outside of your marriage to help you figure out and have clarity.
Absolutely. And I know my situation, I felt like, no, my situation is just so different than anybody else's. And, I can talk to my girlfriends, but your girlfriends may not be the best people to talk to. And it's just, no one else can possibly understand what I'm going through. And I'm sure most everyone who goes through divorce has those exact same feelings. I mean, it's always, my situation is so dramatic, and they are.
Because you're
dramatic.
drowning in it. You're the only one that's in it that's feeling what you're feeling. Other people can't look at you and feel what you're feeling, because typically there's such a facade going on that, I know I let my family, everything's fine until I made the decision. I didn't want them to worry, and you think you're keeping them out of it. So having resources that can help you find the clarity is so important, and also the peace of mind. I always say, and that's why I always put this little picture up, healthy credit is peace of mind, but it's really like your whole financial health. It's not just your credit, it's any issues. When you have financial issues, you don't sleep, you have so much additional stress, and put a divorce on top of it, and you just don't know where to go. You're not really thinking clear, so I think the resources is so critical.
The resources are great. So Amy, you had a prior career.
Yeah, I did.
So tell us a little about that and how you landed as a divorce coach.
It was just, okay. So met my husband in chiropractic college, and we came to Florida, and we built this beautiful practice together. And, sometimes you just fall in love with the wrong person, and that's what happens. So we went through this process and a really nasty divorce, because I wish I had me back then, and I didn't. And I made every mistake possible, but that's what gave me the drive to do something. So it started with writing a book, kind of a girlfriend's guide to get through the divorce process. And from that book, it landed me on, we did some TV, and then I started coaching, and I had an idea for a play. I am like a good example of you can do anything. even if you don't think you are qualified to do anything, you can write a play, you can write a book. And if your heart is in, and because my heart was in, it wrote itself, right? And my heart was in, I don't want anybody to go through this the way I went through it. I want people to get organized. I want people to make smart choices. And I want people to remember to laugh and smile and enjoy their life, because you have to find some comfort in the discomfort. You know? And I wanted to add, like, one thing that I learned through my coaching education is, like, you're saying, all of you, it's like you need help. I think the danger is not asking for the help, because when we go through this process of, oh my God, I just, like, my whole house is cleared out, there's no money, or I think I need a divorce, it's like a fight or flight mechanism that takes over your brain. I call it divorce fog or brain fog. And literally what's happening is your primitive brain is working, not your frontal cortex that makes smart choices. You actually really need these people. We need you guys to be on the team, because we're not capable of making smart choices.
Yes.
Once we get the information, we can, but there is danger in thinking you can do this alone.
There's also danger in, even though you want to tell your friends everything and
Yes.
you want their advice, they're going to tell you about their divorce and what they
Right.
got and what their attorney got for them. And you're going to compare your deal to their deal.
Right.
And every single divorce is different. So it depends on how many years you were married, what your education is, what your vocation is, whether you're employable, did you work during the marriage, how many children, how old are your children, how much do you earn, how much does he earn?
Wow.
You know, it goes on and on. So what's good for one person is not necessarily what's good for another. You know, what you say to someone, I was married 10 years, oh, well, my lawyer got me this, and, you know, and then you think your lawyer isn't doing the job that they need to do for you. So you have to be really careful, because you want to find a lawyer that you trust and that you feel comfortable with and that has the same goal orientation as you do. And then go and trust your lawyer. Don't trust what everyone else is telling you.
Yeah, and what's great about Tammy is that she's been there, she's done this road, she's gotten through a divorce, so, you know, when she's truly at the table with you, she wants the best for you, and this is like somebody you want on your team.
Yes. Well,
And-
that's what made me a divorce lawyer. You know, my parents were divorced when I was 9 years
You've
old.
really lived it.
So I had step parents, and my parents were divorced, and they got along, and then I married a man who was divorced with 3 children. So I've been there. And,
Yes,
you know,
it helps, it really helps.
It
And,
makes
you know,
me more compassionate, I think.
right, and understanding what that person is going, more empathetic. But also, when you say you want help, you got to be careful to eliminate the life suckers. You don't want to just bring anybody in.
Right.
You can't tell everybody your stuff like you want to. You have to, like, really closely pick your family and your friends, and be careful what you say, and your professionals, because it's got to be a tight-knit group of solid people. No vampires. Only the good people.
So important. So important for when you're going through any kind of life
True.
altering decisions, right? And
Right.
you don't take getting married very lightly. So why should you take making a decision to get divorced lightly?
Right. No, I think as we grow more mature, I think, at least for me, I know I've learned to not speak to as many people. Like, my list of really confidants is a handful. Whereas when I was in my 30s, I probably spoke a little too much.
I was just the opposite. I kept everything to myself. I wanted to just protect my image, protect my family from worrying, and I really wish I would have had some kind. I mean, I think you have to have balance in there, because keeping it all to yourself, you don't know that you're really making the right decisions. And, you know, when it comes to the financial part of it, paying things off or having debt and not knowing what the right decision is, getting through that whole credit issue for me before I had the knowledge I have now, it's critical, again, I think, just to get people that have your best interest at heart, that can experience and make decisions for you, that have the experience to make the best decisions for you, and have your decisions for you at your best interest.
Right. Because hiring or going to you as a coach, you don't have an emotional, you can look at it.
Objectively.
Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
operating here not with my primitive fight or flight brain, you know, I can be clear. You know, I'm thinking about second marriages. and the challenge of a second marriage. And that divorce rate is much higher. And when you think about it, especially if there's kids. I mean, I am happily remarried, but I have 6 kids total. I went from 2, I got 4, 6, the modern Brady Bunch. But luckily, my husband and I really realized that was a challenge, and we got help when we needed to, when the kids were trying to, But the other part of that is I have a client, and when you come into a second marriage and you're not giving full disclosure of what your credit is, of what your financial situation, that is a hot mess.
Yeah.
That is clear and present danger. And having the ability to come together and talk with people like you before it turns into a disaster.
Absolutely. And I think on that, we are taking a break.
Stay with us.
We'll be back.
Did you know most people have no idea how their credit score works and no idea what their credit score is? Most people think just paying bills on time will ensure the best score possible. The reality is, 5 factors determine your credit rating: types of credit, length of credit, amount owed, inquiries, and payment history.
Did you know an employer can use your credit scores and history to determine whether they want to hire you? Your credit scores determine the premiums you pay for insurance on your car and homeowner's insurance, as well as other premiums. Your credit score also determines the interest rates for your mortgage and car loans. Even your utilities and cell phone is based on your credit score. Crazy, right? Low credit scores is like flushing money down the drain.
We can put money back in your pocket. Tune in and let's talk credit. We are the Healthy Credit Gals. Let us show you how to create financial fitness and peace of mind.
Does the insurance world have you dazed and confused? And are you not sure what to do? Call Cheryl. She represents Florida Blue and other things too. Open enrollment is November 1st through December 15th.